Hey, Christian Indies, welcome to the Postcast. You just
Welcome.
missed some awesome conversation that I should have been taping because it was pure gold. But
No, it was.
So every time we go to the Postcast, I'm kind of like this because I am doing the random thing to pick who goes in what order. And I did put my name in first, just so you know. I always do. But it came up Rhonda, Jamie, Jen, Tina.
all right.
So Rhonda, Jamie, Jen, Tina. That's the order that we're sharing. Tina, I'm willing to switch with you because I know you hate being last, but that's up to you. You're fine.
I'm good.
All right. So anyway, I just only wanted to get that over with in the very beginning.
Well, I'm super excited to talk about the submissions, so I'm ready to go right
Me
into
too.
it. All right. So, Rhonda, do you have anything you'd like to say to us before we dismiss you off into the silent zone?
Last words.
Yeah, I would. I would like to say, I don't know how you guys can do these rough drafts and they sound like perfectly polished pieces because I don't. So
That's very
you
sweet.
got what you asked for.
Oh, that's very
Well,
nice.
it's true.
That's really sweet of you. Any feedback that you're looking for in particular about your piece?
Well, I just want to say, I think that Tina just puts highlights in there to make me feel better on her own. So, okay.
No, that's a lie.
Well, basically, like I said earlier, it's just like an exploded snowflake. So maybe just, see if things look like they're orderly, I guess.
So for people who are like, what is an exploded snowflake? Rhonda is talking about the snowflake method of outlining a book. So you start by like doing this much and then you expand on that much and then you expand on that much. So she's saying she started with sentences and then kind of exploded them. And then a reminder, because it's NaNoWriMo, we're doing enough just getting these words out. We did not expect anybody to edit. We don't expect these to be polished. So this is different from a normal postcast. Just wanted to throw that in there before we said, away with you, Rhonda. To the isolation. See.
All right. I'm pulling Rhonda's up right now.
I just want to start by saying I do not like Mrs. Lisk or whatever it is.
Mission accomplished.
Yes. She's nasty.
Ugh.
And she made this poor baby cry. Like she legitimately sobbed. So sad. Like she really is alive. She really is an alive person. And so is the main character in this piece. Z and Mrs. L are alive people.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter what Z did. She was giving it to her daughter.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say too. Is it like, and I think this is exactly what Rhonda wanted, is that you felt this frustration that there's nothing you can do to help her. Like there's nothing she can do to help herself because the decision was already made. That woman came in there looking for what she was going to be able to use as the excuse. And unfortunately, it wouldn't have mattered. She was going to find something, right? So, oh yeah, very, very despicable woman.
Yes, and then you wonder, what is she going to say? She's like, at least I can tell them I gave you a chance. Why? Because you went there, you big, meanie butt face. Like, I was like really mad at this person. And so I really do think that that was the author's intent. And regardless of the little bit that she, obviously, you can clean up in editing, the extra sentences or the, talking about it's me or her, whatever. That stuff is not as important as like, the scene does what it's supposed to do, in my opinion.
Right.
Yes.
You guys remind me, is she writing this in first person or third person? Do you guys remember?
Remember, this author writes a lot in first person and is trying to experiment with third person.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I think that she really wants it to be third person, but I think that it's a habit to slip back into first. So I'm sure in editing, she's going to change it all sort of back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know she's going to catch all of that. I just couldn't remember, just for my own personal, as I'm reading it, I couldn't remember if she's going to, like, if it was going to be first person or if it was supposed to be third person. So just curious.
I know. And it's really interesting to think about. I was just going to say, I think this author will find freedom in the third person, which is weird because it does feel a little limiting. If you write in first person all the time, you have permission to like dig into the person's brain and all of the thoughts that they are thinking. But when you write in third person, you feel a little less limited that way. you have a little, I mean, it's really tricky to not slip into head hopping because you are from that person's perspective. And
Right.
it feels limiting because you don't get to say all of your feelings and emotions. But I guess since you don't really have to talk about that, I think it feels freeing. Anyway, I think the author is going to appreciate third person
Right.
when she gets the groove of it.
That's interesting that you bring up third person, the head hopping, because at one point she does head hop in here and she's writing in first person, which is interesting because like you're only supposed to be in one head, right? So again, I think it's probably because she's struggling, like because it's nano, right? We're just getting the words out. So she's so used to writing first person, but she's stretching herself, which I super appreciate, especially with
Yeah.
nano. Like I just think that's so good as writers for us to try to push ourselves. I should probably try to write something in first person. I've never produced a complete work in first person, and it probably would make me a better writer, to try something new. So yeah, I think this is awesome. So.
Yeah, it's really, like you said, tough to do and also write quickly.
I love, my favorite part was when she grabbed her purse off the table. I'm like, yeah, you go after her. I don't know what she's going to do, but I'm just really happy she's doing something. And then the picture is dropping and she's seeing the picture of her grandma. And I was just like, oh, so then I was like all sad again, like, oh, you poor thing. So yeah, good stuff. Good emotions.
Well, because I'm evil, my favorite part is the boy seeing her crying over her ex and misunderstanding, which normally I do not like misunderstandings, but I just feel like I just had a real big plot twist kind of a moment right there. So anyway, I found that to be especially awesome. What was your favorite part, Bambina?
I just really love to hate Mrs. Liscombe. When she said, I've been training my daughter for this since she was a little girl, I was like, oh, girl, you never had a chance.
Yeah.
And it's not that I like that part. It's just like, I like that kind of, when you throw that kind of stuff into a story and it adds that tension.
Right. It's well done. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
You don't like her, but it's well done how the author wrote it because you don't like her.
And now
Right.
I really want to know, what is the daughter like? Does the daughter even care to be a museum curator? Is the daughter lording it over this other girl's head like, haha, my mother's giving me the job? Or is the girl like, I really, like, please, can you help me because my mother's making me, do you know what I mean? So I'm really curious now to meet this character and find out which way the author's going to go with her.
Yes.
Great. All right. Awesome. Anything else?
That's all for me.
All right, Rhonda, we're letting you out.
Thank you, guys. You're so generous. I really appreciate it. You completely understood the point of what I was getting, so I'm glad. So that's a win for me. As far as the third person goes, okay, this is something, like Jamie said, I am trying to write this in third person, but I've discovered that actually in this scene right here, I discovered that when I write in first person, I can just get it to flow out. But when I'm sitting there trying to think about doing it in third person, I have a hard time. That's when I get like 200, 250 words out. So I decided I'm going to continue writing the first rough draft in first person just to get everything out. And then, so you saw the switch there.
Right. And then you're going to go back and edit it?
I'm going to go back and do it in third person. I'm definitely going to do this in third person.
Rhonda, I think you and I are so much alike because I don't know if you remember, I was writing that punk rock story, which I missed it. I really need to go back to it. I started that in first person and I was like, oh no, people aren't going to want to read whatever. And I went and changed it. But I'm like you, like it flows when it's me doing all of this. I can like, you know what I mean? I do this and I do that. It helps me to be in a place. So.
Yeah.
But I think this is interesting and I'm really glad we're recording this because I think in a year, after doing a year of third person, I think you're going to next year, if you decide to do third person, I think you're going to find a totally different experience. So this
hopefully,
is cool. We're going to be able to watch you grow as a writer. So that's really
because I'd like to be able to write what I want to write.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I want to write in third person, I want to be able to do it well.
Right.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Right, awesome.
All right, is your back well fed, Rhonda? Do you have anything else
Very
to say?
well. Thank you. Got Mrs. Liscombe. I'm Tina's feeling her, I think. So.
Sorry, I hit the bass. Did you guys hear this?
Can you do it for effect next time? Like if someone does a zinger, you go boom or something.
No, I don't play it.
So you might see like a tassel-headed little boy come running behind me at some point. I'm not sure. He's shaking his head. No, I'm not coming out from under the covers, but he he may change his mind in a moment here, just so you know.
All right, James, you're next, right?
I am.
All right, what are you looking for from us?
I kind of feel like I know what I want to hear from you, but I just want to hear if it comes out organically in what you say. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, I do.
So I don't want to train you to look for it.
Sounds good. All right, you are in the isolation booth. All right. Anyone want to go first?
I can if nobody else wants to.
Go right ahead.
Okay. First of all, just to read this final book. I'm excited to be a beta reader for this, like in the next week or so, hopefully, Jamie. So let's see. There's so many parts of it that I liked. I think my favorite of all, though, is meeting this woman at the very end with the bassy voice, who because I feel like she's someone that could be like a sage or like a wise person for these group of ladies, these young ladies, and she's an older one. I don't know if that's what
the cello voice. Is that what you're?
Yes.
Yes, I love that line.
Yep.
By the way, voice as rich and resonant as a cello. Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
I was just
no, that's fine. That's my favorite of all. But yeah, I thought it was a good scene. It's interesting to know. I mean, like, if they're not a child, I've got questions about what's happening in the book. Nothing that's confusing in the actual writing that we read today. So that's all for me at the moment.
I love how much we get to see of Brianna. And I don't mean like physically see her. I mean like just see of who she is inside. Like I really, really love like at the beginning, how she's psyching herself up to get in front of these people. And, I love that, like, licking her lips and that she suddenly realizes that she has arms hanging. You know what I mean? Like, have you guys ever been there? Like when you're nervous, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have arms and I don't know what to do with them. Like, I just love that. And then so she gets herself all psyched up, all these things that she wants to say, and she gets in front of them and she's like, shall we? It moves into the room. Like that's all she says. Like she like totally freezes up and it's just so well done. I just love that. Yeah.
And she describes the scene in front of her, and I can almost see this being like one of the groups that she's in charge of. All the women, you've got the different personalities and all the faces. Mm-hmm. Love that.
In some faces, she saw worry, wide eyes, thin, chewed lips. In some, she saw challenge, set jaws, and blazing irises. I was there. I seriously, at that point, I was Brianna, staying in front of those people, seeing them. Like, that was just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jen. I was there. It took me right back to years ago when I got roped into being a MOPS coordinator. And I had agreed to be the co-coordinator as long as I didn't have to talk in front of anyone. And 2 weeks later, the coordinator quit.
Nice.
Yep.
And so here I was, my first meeting that I had to lead, and all those women were my friends, but I just completely froze, like you're in charge now. And so I was right back there. Like I could feel what Brianna was feeling, and it was just so well done. And I just love Brianna, by the way.
She had a lot of details in here that just made it just felt like you were in the room, like the gentle rustle of fabric sliding against fabric. And she doesn't add the kind of description that she's always saying that is boring to her, that she flips over.
Right.
But she adds just you feel like you're right there.
I totally feel like this
very rich.
Yes, I totally feel like this could be laid in front of a classroom of college students to show them this is how you show, not tell. Because you read this and you learn so much about Brianna, about the people in the room, about what it looks like, what they're wearing, like all these things in just how many words is this? It's like not even that many words, but like it's just so rich with just a little bit of just enough what you need. Like she's the queen of that, giving you just enough of what you need and not too much. Like just so good.
Right.
Anyone else? All right,
I've
Jamie.
just been in that room before.
I know, right? We've all been there. I know.
Would anyone like to volunteer to pray? A few heads at the table.
I love that part too. Loved it.
All right, I stop.
Okay, go ahead, Jamie. Come on out and talk with us.
Okay, so you know there's people whose head would never come up. Please don't look over here.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. All
Okay,
right.
well, you guys
Just
are
real quick.
really, really, really generous with your praise. I do appreciate it. Just
Aw.
real quick, what?
Just all right. The four of us are sitting around the table in this room. Okay. Which one of us won't look up? Which one of us is the one that raises their hand? Because we are all four so different. I feel like we could have fit in all of these people you talked about. Like, that's so funny. So go
Okay,
ahead.
so Jennifer would be like, they're going to pick me because I'm always the one, so I might as well volunteer. Tina would be like, yeah, I'm the pastor's wife, but maybe if I don't make eye contact, they won't pick me this time.
Oh, you got me pegged. Exactly.
And Rhonda would sort of be like, can I put my eyes anywhere else so that they won't make eye contact with me and pick me?
Pretend
And I
to be in the
would be
Blue
like,
Journal.
yes. And I would be the one asking, anyone, please, someone else?
I don't completely agree with that. Yes, I can see you doing that, but I also think you're the nice lady that would raise your hand and give the beautiful prayer. That you do have that personality as well.
My sentiment is always kind of in those situations. I feel like, well, if nobody else will, I don't have a problem with public. Like I'm not shy about it or whatever.
Right.
I do not see myself like if I was in this kind of an environment, I don't see myself becoming like the group chaplain, like, you know what I mean? The spiritual leader, which is this cello voice woman, right? Like she is the one where people will be like, well, you should be like our pastoral care person because you have that about you. Like that is not what role they would put me in. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So this has been a lot of fun to kind of think about, you know, a colony of people trying to kind of like make a new life or sort of whatever. I do appreciate that they're real to you and that the circumstance was real to you. I did want to hear about all of these thoughts, everything Brianna wanted to say, and she's just like not saying it. And this is who she is for a good part of the book. And I would like for her to find her voice, you know, as time kind of goes by. And I feel like for that to be impactful, she needs to have more than one experience like this, where she thinks, I'm going to say, and just doesn't. And God is going to really show up for her because these other people are going to misinterpret her. They're going to think she's like really hard because she's a woman of few words. But in reality, she's just kind of too scared to really lead. So it's just going to be everybody's interpretation of her is going to really save her butt as far as like trying to be a person in a position of leadership here. So I'm very excited about this dynamic. And this is why the book is so sort of long, because there is this subplot of this community trying to be formed, along with the overreaching plot of like what has happened to the world that all of these people have died, right? So this is why the book has been so easy to make long, because there's just so much to cover, way too much for 25,000 words.
Awesome.
So thanks for all the good feedback.
I cannot wait to read this whole thing.
Yay.
That's my final comment.
Awesome.
All right. So I'm next.
Jen. Okay.
Trying to remember what I submitted. It's been a really long week.
Absconding to the cellar or wherever. He picks her up and runs her down to the.
Yes. Okay. So I had picked something else out to submit, and then I wrote this chapter, and I was like, this is the one. So I want to know, okay, so a lot gets revealed. I want to know if it was a shock to you, and I want to know that if I wrote it genuine enough to where you felt like, yes, this really happened, and this is how this is realistic and how she would tell somebody. So
okay, so I want to ask for permission of like to like some of my comments might be perceived as kind of like me to like, I don't want you to feel criticized or whatever, but I want answers to the questions that I have, but it might seem like criticism. And if you don't want to hear that stuff right now, I will just tell you later.
No, it's okay. Cause you're always mean. So we're good.
All right, good.
Just kidding.
I'm used to it, Jamie. All right. So you'll see what I mean when we start talking. So to the isolation booth with you. All right. So what do you guys have to say before I go?
Well, I was surprised at how sad I was that there's no Beatrice scene in here, but
that was very surprising that there was no.
I mean, and I do like the other, yes, but I thought it was good. You know, seems very complete to me. I was surprised at what she admitted. I don't know if we knew or if that was alluded to earlier in the book. And I'm disappointed in Reverend Albright.
Me too. That's the meat part that I was talking about. Like, how could her family not even like talk? Like, I really do not see that from this family. I mean, was she really that bad that they would just assume that of her? Because that's a huge deal in this time period. And I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping right in with my meat because really the bread of it is, you know, good writing. I mean, yes, believable that he whisked her away and that he had the butler waiting there to it. Like all of that, very believable, very realistic, to the point where I am mad at Reverend Albright. Like if I didn't think the writing was genuine enough, I wouldn't care about that. Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No, you're totally fine. Then Peter Parker, wasn't that Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's so funny. I know that it was
immediately he was dressed as Spider-Man through the rest of the scene,
including tights.
Yes,
yes, I know that was her capital letters are indicative of things she's gonna spruce up later, I think. Tina, how do you feel about Reverend Albright?
I was very disappointed in Reverend Albright, like why he didn't ask her for her side of the story. Although I think it would be realistic that he did, and then she just clammed up.
Yes, I agree.
I could see that. Mm-hmm.
And again, when he was confronting her and she was protesting that, I think maybe she should take a few of those protests out. And I know we're just supposed to give encouragement, but as somebody who's experienced what she experienced, you tend to shut down rather than kind of, you know, like she kept saying, nobody could love me, nobody can love me. It's more, you say it once and then you just kind of shut down.
So if she became silent and just cried hot tears of fury and wouldn't talk or something, and he had to like coax it out of her maybe, or
and that might just be my personality, but I'm just saying like that's how I would have responded. If she's looking for that kind of feedback, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all response.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, and then also, it is very surprising, but we haven't read all 60,000 words or whatever. Has she been thinking about this all along, too? Because if it's a volcano scene where it's been building and building and building, and now it's an eruption, that would also feel different than just out of nowhere she's hysterical about this whole thing. So if we had the benefit of having read to this point, we would know if she's been having these feelings of, no, I'm not good. And also would add to the intrigue of the story, right? Because you would hear her saying this bad self-talk about herself and wonder, what is this thing that she keeps saying makes her unworthy of love or kind of whatever, you know? It was pretty shocking. I'm really horrified and sad that it happened to her. Also, I didn't know that she was that naughty of a kid. You know what I mean? I knew she was like their troubled child, but I didn't know that she had gotten into that kind of shenanigans. Like, and so that was surprising, but not like way out of character for Sarah surprising to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're learning about her, right? But so I don't think unrealistic, but yes, surprising and very well written. So, and I think that the reason why I feel it's okay to kind of give meat is because this does not read just like a brain dump for 25 minutes. This reads like pretty
edited.
Yeah.
Is that me?
I just unplugged my headphones. Oh. No, to stop it.
Rhonda, unplug your headphones.
Yep, it was that. Okay. Yeah. Can you hear us okay, Rhonda? Oh, now we can't hear you. That's sad. Oh, bummer. Well, Tina, do you have something to say about Jen's piece while Rhonda tries to get her voice back?
I just really enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed when he pinned her against the wall and like was carrying her down the stairs, and I was just like, what is he gonna do? You know? It
was very Rhett Butler, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
And
yeah,
also, how horrifying for her having been through that, which also I didn't really understand her, you're going to rape me kind of an attitude either. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really strange place for a person to go to until she reveals this, right? So
Right.
it really helped for the whole absconding with her scene to make a lot more sense.
and it really makes me wonder what kind of foreshadowing we're going to have, like once we read the whole thing, you
Yeah.
know, and so we'll kind of understand it maybe a little better. It won't be so shocking, maybe, when we have the context.
Yeah. So again, as I was saying before, Rhonda, oh, poor Rhonda. Can you talk now, Rhonda? Let's see if we can hear you. No, rats. I was saying it reads like a pretty edited piece, you know, so she's getting to where she does pretty clean writing. It's really amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so I can shut up now. Poor Rhonda. Rhonda, if there was only a way that you could type what you wanted to say or hold it up on a piece of paper.
You mean like
Maybe-
in the chat box? Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. We should let Jen out, but maybe Rhonda
should.
should leave the call and come back. Oh, I can. Rhonda said I can.
Oh, look.
Yeah, so I can read whatever Rhonda wants to say. And then maybe Rhonda, you could leave the call and rejoin it and see if that helps after we hear from Jen, okay? And then before we do Tina's critique. All right, so Jen, what do you have to say about what we shared?
Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate all that. Again, you guys are really, really generous.
I hope you're not feeling like we were piling on it because it was
No.
really excellently done.
Thank you. No, I don't feel like that. I think that a lot of the questions you have are because you haven't read the whole thing. But I do want it to be a little shocking. Like I wanted it to be like a moment when you read it. Like I there are some Easter eggs, there are some little hints, but mostly it's like she's buried this and it comes out because of him taking her downstairs and her thinking they're alone. Like all of a sudden it's like, this is what happens when you're, when you're like me kind of a thing. And so, and I'm sorry about the Peter Parker thing. Like I was typing and that's the only thing that came to mind as I did it. So I put in Parker, but then I couldn't go back and change it because we've promised that we're not going to edit. So I had to leave Peter Parker. So I'm sorry that you saw him in a Spider-Man costume the entire time. But so was it alluded to? There are a couple things, even things you guys have read that kind of allude to it. But again, that'll come back in editing when I go back in. I will be putting more stuff in. But at one point, she talked about that she used to be able to tell her dad anything, but that was before. And that's all I say. So like there's lots of things like that for people. I hope people go before what? So
Because of the shame. Yeah.
and just so you guys know, I'm really mad at Reverend Albright too. Like I'm very upset with him, but the story's not over. So that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. The too much protest. All right. Well, it's Nano and I needed words.
Right.
So I know that when I went back and read it, I'm like, she kind of says that already like a few times, but I'm not taking it out because it's Nano. So
yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think we got into like critique mode and we were like, well, while we're on the subject, so we kind of lost ourselves.
Oh, I'm not upset about it. I just want you guys to know, like, I acknowledge it. You're right. You're absolutely right. That would be hopefully much better in the final project. But so my question is, do you think it's too sad? Like, this is the only thing I didn't get from you guys. Like, it's shocking. Is it too shocking? Is it too strong of a topic? Rhonda says no.
Rhonda says no. I agree with her, but I think it's too much for Reverend Albright to be that cold. Like, I mean, for it to be like they don't understand or something, but for them to just not even like for them to just not even ask her side is like too much to me. That was the only thing that felt way out there. Her having that experience didn't seem out there. Her shimmying down the trellis didn't seem out there. This happening to her, his reaction, none of that. But for Reverend Albright and Mrs. Albright to just be like, we don't even want to hear what you have to say was totally out of character for them. That's the only thing in the whole piece that I was like, what?
So that'll probably come out in editing too, because in my mind, that's not what happened. She says, I can see his relationship with her changing, but him, not listening to her side. I really kind of always saw him as talking with her and her just kind of shutting down. So but I didn't. I wanted to show that later, but maybe I should have her say that to him. Well, when he did ask me, but who's going to believe me? So I let them believe whatever they wanted. You know, maybe I could do a little bit more of
Or
that.
she could say something like, "I just couldn't say it."
Yeah, something.
You know,
So,
because the shame of that would to
right.
say
Or
that to
maybe-
your father would be
Yeah.
horrible.
Or maybe I like Jen's thing of where I just wanted to let them believe whatever they wanted, because it makes sense to me that she just, like, I could picture her laying on her bed and them coming in to talk to her. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to tell us? Blah, blah, blah. And her just not saying a thing. Like, leaving them to think what they want and then assuming that they think bad things of you works
Right.
better for me to feel like there's some like possibility that she just doesn't understand, rather than them just writing her off as, you know, that kind of a girl.
Right.
If it is just her perception.
It
And
is
we
just that we're
discover-
only getting her side. Yes. Plus,
Yes.
there's also stuff you guys haven't read yet from Esther's book where we see Reverend Albright's temper. Like, he's human too. Like, he's not like as perfect as what, you know, everyone on the outside of the family thinks he is. So, like, we got to show our characters as real too. So
I did think about that. I did think about, is this just his character flaw or something that he's given up on her and just has decided she's like whatever.
right,
But
because he believes something immediately about Esther only because he's angry. He like and kind of like rushes off before he hears, you know. So like it wouldn't be completely unbelievable that he wouldn't blow his top. But he would come back at some point. I mean, this is his baby, right? So I mean, that's kind of how I always saw it. But again, in editing, it'll be better. So I don't want you guys to like lose all hope. Like,
well,
I
it's
know
so
I
funny.
want.
These people, these imaginary people.
They're not imaginary anymore.
We're
They're
so
real.
disappointed in this imaginary person.
Right.
How fun. Well, thank you for allowing us to talk about that and not feeling like it was a bad thing, because again, I hope you feel like it's great because he's real to us like he's real to you. And we want to be able to have these conversations about that. So
Yeah, this is gold. Like, who else gets to take their nano project and have 3 great writers tell you how you can improve it? Like, I'm totally on board with that. So I appreciate you guys.
Is Rhonda writing something to me? Yes. Oh, she's wondering, do we have to wrap it up? Because I know some of us have like appointments and stuff.
Nope, let's go.
Let's
can do
go.
this.
All
Yeah,
right, so
I want to talk about Tina.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Tina, what are you looking for here?
I don't know. I just submitted something because I had to. I don't know what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, we can hear you, Rhonda. Yay.
Yay!
Okay, I didn't want to miss what Tina was asking for in her story.
No, she just said that she submitted something because she had to.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
Okay. So into the isolation chamber with you. And I only want to speak first because what I want to say is that when I printed Tina's piece off, because she highlighted the stuff that was going to be edited out, it looks like a redacted document from the CIA.
Oh,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, this is classified information in these blocks. And it makes me want to know what it is.
That's hilarious. I had the same exact thought.
When I was reading it on my screen, it was just highlighted. So,
All right. That wasn't my only feedback though. Like, I, of course, you know me, I have romance, all about the romance. I loved that Rory saw something and misinterpreted it. We knew that this was coming. She'd already talked to us about that, but I just love that, that I think she did a great job with it. So super sad though. I just want to like hit his ex-wife. Like, what in the world? What is she sticking her nose back in his business for?
I think enough people have hit her. Thank you very much.
yeah.
But the whole him looking at her and remembering her eyes being black and feeling he was responsible for that, and then how bad then for her to divorce him over it. Like, he already feels like a dirt pile about it. And so, I mean, and you could see his conflicting feelings because the physical and all of that. I just have to say, like, I don't know where this story is going. I'm really curious to read it, But I feel like this dude isn't ready to be with anybody, but then that's just me. So I don't know how you bridge the gap from him being this messed up person to being ready to carry on with a new woman.
Right.
But isn't that the fodder of all delicious soap opera type storylines where because they haven't worked it all out, it makes drama in the relationship. So great fodder for a writer. But as far as like what I want for this character, dude, I want him to just leave the chicks alone already and get it together.
Yeah, I had that same thought. That's so funny you bring that up. I had that same thought that like if he's not willing to be with his ex-wife, who clearly he still has a physical response to, because he's afraid of hurting her, why would that be any different with Rory? So clearly she's probably, I'm guessing she has something planned with his character arc that will bring him to where he won't feel like he's a danger. But he'll still have to choose Rory over the ex-wife because she set up this scene where there's a physical response. The wife is clearly interested, so she's still going to have to set that up. Whether you write romance or not, like just for it to be logical, she's going to have to set it up to like, why would he choose Rory over her? And it's got to be more than just the fact that he'd hit her before. Because if that's the fact, then he could hit Rory too. So.
Yeah, and also, I mean, now she's found Christ is what she's saying. So it's really, I'm sorry if this is turning into feeling too much like a critique. It really is not meant to be. I'm just
I got
curious.
lots and lots of bread coming up here. So
there is just like, so now it's kind of like she wants to restore the marriage, which gives you like biblical gray area. And so it's like she's really setting it up to make it very difficult for him to not go back with her. So like what will happen? That's really what I'm trying to say is it's a really good job of setting up what's going to happen here and making me want to keep reading. So
and then again, we've not read the rest of it. So we're saying that only based on the little bits that we've read. So yeah. Okay. So I love the drawing scene. I know we keep talking about like the dogs and whatnot, but Tina is gifted with writing about relationships with dogs, and it's just so great. But how wonderful, Roy said. And what is Hay's drawing of? Snow, said Bella Mannerhood. I like, can you not see this? Like, I could totally see this whole thing. She's there, she's drawing, and there's a piece of paper in front of her dog. Like, this is my Chloe. My Chloe would have conversations with the dogs. The dogs would, I could see her doing this with Sophia, my dog. Like, she just would like have like her doing stuff with her, you know, and just, it's so cute. I just love that.
Yeah. I totally agree. The whole writing about animals thing and animals with children, Tina does very well.
And the macaroni and cheese is so my life.
My kids have been asking me for the box of macaroni like for ever since Thanksgiving dinner. So that is on my grocery list today. Mom, we want macaroni and cheese. Homemade? No. Are you kidding me, Mom? No, the box.
I know.
Although these are like Alaska people, so I guess they have to have stuff that's non-perishable in the cupboard all the time.
Right.
Rhonda, I'm sorry. Can you talk? Like, can you? Because I feel like I'm just talking. Yeah. I'm not giving you a chance.
No, that's all right. As far as the two different women, I think sometimes in abusive situations, the one person that was originally abused can be a trigger for the reformed person, and they might be able to have a relationship with somebody else who doesn't trigger like the smell of the other person or the little ticks the other person has on their face or whatever. So I think it could be possible for him to move on with her if, you know, all the stars were aligned, I guess. So that's all I want to say about that. But anyway, I was really glad to meet the ex-wife. I hadn't met her before in any of the reading, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I enjoyed that. Of course, my favorite part was drawing with the dog. And I think you guys have pretty much covered everything else.
Yeah. And I like, again, this woman doesn't have anything else to do. So here she is drawing with her child. I mean, this kind of is like, I don't know. It's almost like, why don't we all get back to basics and color with crayons and stab people with needlepoint in our minds? Like, you know, there are other ways that people used to distract themselves from real life before the internet and Facebook and all that came along. And like, why wouldn't we do needlepoint if we didn't have internet and stuff? Anyway, sorry, that's not this piece. It's a different piece. But I like her simple life and her decision to color brought upon
like a retreat.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of bringing her back to base.
I felt like the writing is really good. I feel like for brain dump stuff, this is pretty polished.
Right. Oh, I didn't know what to submit, so I just submitted this.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
this whole
Tina.
thing,
Oh.
you know. Yeah, really nice writing. I don't think I have any questions so much, except I really wanted to hate the ex-wife, and now I don't get to hate her. I was really thinking this would be like a bad guy kind of character.
Right. All right, Tina, you ready to come out?
Sure.
All right.
Thanks, guys, for the feedback.
Yay!
I really didn't say that with the attitude that, oh, I'm just going to give you any old thing. I picked something that I liked, but that didn't give too much of the plot away. Because I have this plot twist for you guys, and I'm trying not to give it away. So I'm trying to be very picky about what I submit to you guys.
And the closer you get to the end, the harder that is, right?
Yeah. I want you to have no idea what's happening. That's my goal.
That's okay. That's my life. So.
Oh gosh.
So then you can't even answer some of our questions either, can you? Because that would probably give stuff away.
Yeah, that would be hard to answer. Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. I don't like you, Tina.
Did you ever play 20 questions with someone and then you were like, is it green? Well, it could be green. Like.
Yeah, exactly. It could be green. Then again, it could be purple.
Does it spend more time on land or in water? Well, that depends.
It's like a duck. You know those ducks in Wisconsin that or drive on the road and then they go in the water?
Frustrating.
I could not wait until next week when we're doing our Thank God It's Over episode of the podcast so that we can talk about this whole process that Tina has gone through and if it was successful or not. Or I'm just so excited about that. We can't really talk about that yet because it's not over yet, but yeah.
Yeah,
so,
awesome. Yeah. Well, great work, Tina. Do you have any questions for us or?
No. I'm really glad you guys like Hey and Bella together.
You do.
I really have fun writing them.
Aww.
Even though I might have to change his name.
Yeah, that can come later.
I really like him as the crazy chicken from Moana.
Apparently I have to change Peter's last name, so
yeah,
we all gotta make changes.
You don't have to.
I was gonna say earlier, if you were to read my whole thing, you would find, because Jamie picked the last names of my characters and they're kind of complicated. So there's a lot of times where I say, hello, Mr. Last Name. I have to go back later and what was his last name?
Oh, you can change them. But I would like to say that we should maybe do an episode about being very careful not to violate copyrights, because there's a myriad of ways that you could get yourself into trouble and not even realize you're doing anything wrong. So I think that should be a future podcast episode, personally.
Sooner rather than later, since I have to do that research to figure out what I can leave in my novel and what I can't.
I know who's going to host that episode.
Great.
All right. This has been a lot of fun, ladies. I really appreciate you, all of you.
Yeah, and just a general public apology to everybody. I don't know what is going on with me today, but I am really gabby, so sorry if I talk too much.
Never.
Well, I wouldn't say never.
Never say never.
All right, so are we out of here?
We're out of here. All right. We'll talk.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining our Patreon.
Bye.
Hold on, I got to figure out how to close it.
We're still live.
All right. Bye, everyone.
For real this